two follow-up questions there. What is driving this? And my leading statement is it fear? Is it fear of a recurrence of Nazism, fascism, Stalinism coming from the East? Is it the insurgence of Muslims everywhere in the Great Migration in 2015 that Douglas Murray writes about? What are they afraid of? What is going on?
Well, you know, the most insidious quality about the modern anti-free speech movement is how they cloak themselves in free speech. It's a very odd thing. You know, first of all, they don't use censorship. They'll use terms like content moderation. And they won't really be honest about what they're doing. So in Berlin, they all talked about, you had a recent Nobel Prize winner who has been outspoken as an advocate for censorship. But what they do is they simply say, we have to stop the hate, we have to stop the lies, we have to stop the falsehoods. Democracy is in danger because the public is being lied to. Well, how do you do that? I mean, the point is obvious. You do that by not letting them speak, by using the DSA. But they cloak it in this type of language. One of my colleagues at my law school has led a movement to amend the First Amendment. She says that the First Amendment is aggressively individualistic, and we should change the language to balance against values like equity, right? Well, that view is popular, right? You have when my book came out, 4 anti-free speech books came out by law professors. One of them was a University of Michigan law professor who referred to the First Amendment as the Achilles heel of the United States. Not the thing that defines us, but the thing that threatens our very existence. So these are groups that are very clever. They use language that is uplifting, of protecting people against lies, and they don't really explain how they're going to do that. But it's very obvious because it's been done in higher education. They have purged the ranks of dissenting views. It's been done in Europe, where the DSA and national laws regularly now prosecute those with opposing views. You have people who've been prosecuted for silently praying, for a prayer in their heads because they were near an abortion clinic. You have in Germany comedians who have been arrested. In Canada, comedians have been arrested. Jokes are now unlawful. You know, but there is also a sense of delusion. You know, I spoke in Europe with a leading English comedian who was all in about, we have to stop the prosecution of comedians. But then in the middle of our event, he said, but of course, I make an exception for anything that could be insightful. Because he says, you know, we recently had protests over immigration that were based on lies, and we can't let that happen. And I said, well, you know, there's the rub, isn't it? You know, when there were protests in England, and it was based on lies, there were things on social media that were untrue about an immigrant that was committed certain crimes. But it was another example of rage rhetoric becoming state rage. The government immediately tried to increase its already draconian censorship system. It saw an opportunity. And this comedian, who was very sensitive to how comedians were being arrested, still said, but of course we should arrest all those other people who are just inciting others. And there's a lack of self-reflection in those types of comments.